25 members of Anonymous have been arrested across Europe. Interpol arrested them. Apparently they have an insider that was with Anonymous but is a turncoat. He's known as the real Sabu on Twitter apparently, and he helped these international organizations catch anonymous hackers, not only in Europe but also in the United States as well. Now, you can have a debate as to, what criminal laws that they broke and whether they should be arrested, and what should happen to them once they are arrested. I think that is a legitimate debate, okay? Now, as to what the FBI is saying about them, that part I don't find legitimate, and I'll tell you why. I'll give you the exact quotes. Robert Mueller is the director of the FBI, and he says, first, quote, "In the not too distant future, we anticipate that the cyber threat will pose the #1 threat to our country." Now, he's just warming up there, and it's over-the-top rhetoric because I thought the terrorists were the #1 threat because they kill people, like on 9/11, all those people dead. But no, they say cybersecurity. Now, if they just left it at that, look, cybersecurity is a real threat. If people break in, whether it's to steal identities or they get into government, accounts, it's a real issue, right? The government has to deal with, all right? They left it there, it's fine, but they don't. Of course, it's a prelude to Robert Mueller saying next, we need to take lessons learned from terrorism and apply them to cybercrime. There we go. Now, what do we tell you? We told you the minute that they passed these laws saying, oh, we got to get the terrorists and their associated forces, all of a sudden they would start expanding the definition of terrorists. And we showed you in one case, they were like, well, the drug gangs, they really terrorize people. They're pretty close to terrorists. And now apparently cybercrime, virtual crime, not to say that it's not a real crime, but it's online, is apparently the equivalent of terrorism. But he continues. Once isolated hackers have joined forces to form criminal syndicates. They were used to be isolated, but now they're criminal syndicates, they're mobs, they're mafias, they're terrorists. You see how dangerous these people are. Whatever we do to them is obviously justified. One more. And this is, I think, particularly troubling, because now he's addressing this to private corporations, and he says, remember when they broke into Stratfor, Anonymous did, and found out all the things we were doing in cahoots? Private corporations with the US government, and they found your intelligence there too. And he tells them, quote, we must work together to safeguard our property, to safeguard our ideas, and safeguard our innovation. We must use our connectivity to stop those who seek to do us harm. If Anonymous is seeking to do private corporations any harm to their property, well, they're terrorists, aren't they? And here's our FBI director telling private corporations, why don't we get even more connected? Anybody know what it's called when business and state merges? Anybody know what that political term is? I don't know. I'll let you look it up. And he says, let's get even more connected. And if these hackers, what they call hacktivists, now get into your private corporations and find out any of your information at all, and we think any of your property is damaged, don't worry, we'll call them terrorists and lock them up forever. Fantastic. Anonymous, through their Twitter account, Your Anon News, said, quote, so according to FBI's new logic, hacking a company is worse than an event like 9/11, which resulted in thousands of deaths. Hashtag fear-mongering. That is exactly right, but it's not enough. It's not just fear-mongering for the sake of fear-mongering. It's also done to make sure that they could apply maximum penalty to the people who they find the most guilty. Not the most guilty of committing violent crimes, the most guilty of violating the core part of our government, which is the top secret information that they have and how they work with private business interests to further private business interests. That's the information they desperately don't want you to know. And if you go to that, forget people being killed, forget Al-Qaeda, forget real terrorists. If you go to that core and show people how your government sells you out day in and day out for an extra buck for their friends in those private corporations, well, then you're the terrorist and you got to go away for a long, long time. What's happened to our government is a travesty. I don't know how we're going to get it back. I do know that the one thing we absolutely have to do is separate business and state and separate our government from the influence of money that has so thoroughly corrupted it that our FBI director is talking about how we need to have more connectivity between business and government and make sure that none of the citizens actually find out our secrets.